the land where the sun's gaze is fleeting and the moon's watch is long, there lies a realm shrouded in the mists of time, a place called Elyria. It is a world where the echoes of ancient magic still resonate through the whispering woods and the quiet coves. Here, the line between myth and reality is as thin as the veil between day and night. Elyria, a kingdom of rolling hills and valleys that cradle the verdant expanse of the Darkwood Forest, has known peace for as long as the old ones can remember. But peace, like the sun's zenith, is fleeting, and the shadows that stretch across the land grow long with the approach of twilight. In the heart of Darkwood, where the trees stand like sentinels and the very air hums with the power of the ancients, a prophecy slumbers. It speaks of a time when the bloodlines of man and beast would intertwine, giving rise to a race known as the Shadowkin, beings of immense power and uncertain allegiance. And so begins our tale, not with the roar of a battle cry or the clash of steel, but with the soft rustle of pages turning in the quiet of a scholar's sanctum. Here, a young woman named Lyra, with eyes that mirror the curiosity of the stars and a heart that beats to the rhythm of forgotten lore, uncovers the truth of her own lineage. Little does she know, her discovery will awaken the very shadows of Darkwood, and the world will never be the same. Let us journey through the mists of Elyria, where the past is but a breath away, and the future hangs as fragile as the dew on a new dawn. In the pages that follow, we shall delve into the heart of the forest, where the first whispers of the Shadowkin stir, and the fate of a kingdom rests on the shoulders of one who is both human and more. So, let the tale unfurl, and let the shadows of the past cast their long-awaited light upon the path ahead. This is the story of the Shadowkin, the rise of the half-beast, and the dawn of a new age in Elyria. Lyra's fingers traced the delicate lines of the ancient script, her eyes wide with wonder as she deciphered the words that had been hidden for centuries. The musty air of the Illyrian archives was thick with the scent of old parchment and the weight of untold stories. It was here, in the quiet solitude of the library, that she felt closest to the secrets of her world. The artifact she had discovered was unlike any other. A small, unassuming stone tablet, it had been unearthed during a routine excavation in the heart of Darkwood. Its surface was etched with cryptic symbols that seemed to pulse with an inner light when held under the moon's glow. Lyra had felt an inexplicable pull towards it, as if the tablet itself had called out to her. As she studied the tablet, she began to piece together the fragments of a prophecy that spoke of the Shadowkin, a race born from the merging of human and beast. The prophecy foretold their rise and the pivotal role they would play in the fate of Elyria. But what truly set her heart racing was the connection she felt to these mythical beings. The more she read, the more she could not shake the feeling that her own destiny was intertwined with theirs. The night was deepening, and the library's shadows grew bold, stretching across the floor like tendrils reaching for the light. Lyra worked late into the night, her candle flickering as she delved deeper into the texts. It was then that she found the passage that would change everything. From the blood of the ancients, a new lineage shall rise. The mark of the Shadowkin shall be upon them, a sign of the old power reborn. Her heart pounded in her chest as she read the words again and again. The mark of the Shadowkin was described as a symbol that mirrored the one on the tablet she had found. Unbeknownst to her, as she read the prophecy aloud, the shadows in the library seemed to stir, as if awakening from a long slumber. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the open window, extinguishing her candle and plunging the room into darkness. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with a low, resonant hum. She could sense something was happening, something beyond her understanding. Drawn by an urge she could not ignore, Lyra left the safety of the library and ventured into the night. The moon was a silver sentinel overhead, casting its light upon the path that led to Darkwood. The forest, usually a place of tranquility, seemed to be in turmoil, its trees whispering in a language only the wind could understand. As she stepped into the forest's embrace, the darkness parted, and the path before her glowed with an ethereal light. The forest was alive with the energy of the ancient magic, and it was leading her to a place of great power. Lyra felt the connection to this place deep within her bones, as if she were returning to a home she had never known. In a small clearing bathed in moonlight, she found a circle of standing stones, each one carved with the same symbols as the tablet. The air was charged with an otherworldly power, and Lyra could feel the pulse of the land beneath her feet. It was here that she would learn the truth of her lineage and the destiny that awaited her. As she stood at the center of the stone circle, the wind picked up, and the shadows around her began to take shape, coalescing into the forms of the Shadowkin. Their eyes glowed with an inner fire, and their presence was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. They had been waiting for her, the one who would bridge the gap between their world and hers. "Who are you?" Lyra asked, her voice barely a whisper in the face of such ancient power. "We are the Shadowkin," a voice replied, resonating through the clearing. "And you, Lyra of Elyria, are one of us." The journey had only just begun, and with each step, the shadows of the past would grow longer, reaching out to shape the future of the Shadowkin and the fate of Elyria itself. Lyra awoke to the soft light of dawn filtering through the canopy of darkwood. The memory of the previous night's encounter with the Shadowkin was as vivid as the dew on the grass beneath her. She could still feel the energy that had coursed through her veins as they spoke of her heritage and the destiny that awaited her. Rising from the bed of moss where she had slept, Lyra looked around the clearing. The standing stones were silent now, their ancient power seemingly dormant. But she knew that what she had experienced was real, and the knowledge of her lineage as a Shadowkin stirred within her, a force both compelling and terrifying. With a heart full of trepidation and resolve, Lyra set out on a journey to understand her true nature. She knew that the library in Elyria held more answers, hidden in the tomes of lore and the scrolls of the ancients. As she made her way back through the forest, the trees seemed to whisper to her, their voices a soft susurrus that only she could hear. Upon her return to the library, Lyra found that her discovery had not gone unnoticed. Rumors of the Shadowkin's awakening had begun to spread, and with them, fear and speculation. Lyra knew that she could not face this alone. She needed allies, those who would stand by her side in the trials to come. Among the scholars and lore masters of Elyria, there were some who had long studied the legends of the Shadowkin and the old magic. Among them was an elder mage named Selim, whose wisdom was as deep as the forest itself. Sensing the truth in Lyra's words, Selim agreed to aid her in her quest. Together, they delved into the ancient texts, searching for clues that would lead them to the source of the Shadowkin's power. As they worked, they uncovered tales of a time when humans and beasts had lived in harmony, bound by a magic that was both a blessing and a curse. The path to understanding was not an easy one. Lyra found herself drawn to the wild places of Elyria, where the old magic still lingered. She faced trials that tested her strength, her courage, and her connection to the natural world. In the mountains, she climbed the highest peaks, seeking the wisdom of the eagles. In the depths of the forests, she spoke with the ancient trees, learning their secrets. Each trial brought her closer to the essence of the Shadowkin, and with each success, she felt the power within her grow. But with this power came a darkness, a shadow that seemed to follow her wherever she went. Lyra began to understand that the Shadowkin were not just beings of light, they were also children of the night, with a connection to the primal forces that lay hidden in the heart of the wild. In her travels, Lyra encountered Torvin, a Shadowkin who walked alone. Unlike the others, who had appeared to her in the stone circle, Torvin had shunned the company of his kin, choosing instead to live on the fringes of society. His eyes held a wildness that spoke of a life untamed and a spirit unbroken. Torvin was wary of Lyra at first, for he had seen the fear and prejudice that the name Shadowkin inspired in the hearts of humans. But as they spoke, he found that Lyra was unlike any human he had ever met. She did not shy away from the darkness within the Shadowkin but sought to understand it, to embrace it as part of her own identity. Together, Lyra and Torvin embarked on a journey that would take them to the farthest reaches of Elyria, to places where the old magic still ran strong and the line between beast and human was blurred. They sought the truth of the Shadowkin's past and the key to their future, a journey that would test them both in ways they could never have imagined. As Lyra and Torvin's journey progressed, the whispers of the Shadowkin's awakening rippled through Elyria like the first stirrings of a tempest. In the taverns and town squares, the people spoke in hushed tones of the ancient prophecy and the mysterious scholar who had unlocked its secrets. Some hailed Lyra as a beacon of hope, while others eyed her with suspicion, fearing the power of the Shadowkin and the change they represented. In the royal court of Elyria, the king and his advisors were equally divided. Some saw the Shadowkin as a potential ally in the ongoing struggles for power and territory, while others viewed them as a threat that needed to be contained. The king, a wise and cautious ruler, called for a council to discuss the matter, inviting Lyra to present her findings and speak on behalf of the Shadowkin. Lyra stood before the council, her heart pounding in her chest as she faced the scrutinizing gazes of the kingdom's most powerful figures. She spoke of the Shadowkin's nature, their connection to the land, and the potential for harmony between their kind and humanity. Her words were met with a mixture of awe, skepticism, and outright hostility. Selim, the elder mage, stood by her side, lending his support with his own wisdom and knowledge of the ancient texts. Together, they faced the council's questions, navigating the treacherous waters of politics and prejudice. The council's decision would have far-reaching consequences, not just for Lyra and the Shadowkin, but for the entire kingdom of Elyria. As the council deliberated, a darker force was at work behind the scenes. A secret society, long hidden in the shadows of Elyria's history, saw the awakening of the Shadowkin as a threat to their own power and influence. They plotted to undermine Lyra's efforts, sowing seeds of doubt and fear among the people and the council members. Lyra, with the help of Torvin and Selim, began to uncover the threads of this conspiracy. They discovered that the society had infiltrated the highest levels of the court, their roots entwined with the very foundations of Elyria's power structure. The revelation sent shockwaves through the council, dividing its members further and casting a pall of mistrust over the proceedings. In the midst of the political turmoil, Lyra learned of an ancient relic that held the key to the Shadowkin's power. The relic, a crystal orb said to contain the essence of the old magic, was hidden in a remote and perilous location known as the Abyss of Shadows. Legend told that the orb could either amplify the Shadowkin's abilities or suppress them, depending on the intent of the wielder. Determined to secure the relic and use it to demonstrate the potential for harmony between humans and Shadowkin, Lyra set out on a perilous quest. Torvin and Selim joined her, along with a small band of trusted allies who had been won over by her vision of a united Elyria. The journey to the Abyss of Shadows was fraught with danger. They faced treacherous landscapes, fierce creatures, and the ever-present threat of the secret society's agents. Each challenge they overcame only strengthened their resolve and deepened their bond. The path to the Abyss of Shadows led Lyra and her companions through the heart of the haunted forest, a place where the boundary between the living and the spirit world was as thin as a whisper. The forest was alive with the echoes of the past, and the shadows here held more than just darkness. As they ventured deeper, the trees seemed to close in around them, their gnarled branches reaching out like the hands of the long dead. The forest was not empty, the spirits of those who had fallen in ancient battles roamed here, bound to the earth by unfinished business and unspoken sorrows. Lyra, with her newfound connection to the old magic, found herself able to see and even communicate with these lost souls. Their tales of bravery and betrayal added depth to the history of Elyria and provided clues to the challenges they would face in the trials ahead. At the heart of the haunted forest stood the Altar of Shadows, a place of power where the spirits were strongest and the connection to the otherworld most profound. Here, the air was thick with the scent of elder magics, and the very ground beneath their feet seemed to pulse with ancient energies. The altar was not unguarded. A spectral guardian, once a powerful sorcerer in life, now stood as the protector of the forest's secrets. Lyra and her companions would have to face this guardian and prove their worth to pass. Through a combination of courage, wisdom, and the burgeoning power within her, Lyra managed to appease the guardian, showing not through combat but through understanding and empathy. The guardian, moved by her sincerity, granted them passage and offered a piece of the forest's ancient magic as a boon for their journey. With the guardian's blessing, the group continued on, the path now illuminated by a light that only Lyra could fully perceive. This light led them to a hidden glade where the spirits of the forest had gathered, waiting to reveal truths long buried. In this glade, Lyra learned of the deep bond between the Shadowkin and the land of Elyria, a bond that had been severed by the actions of the secret society in ages past. The spirits imparted to her the knowledge of how to restore this bond, but it would require a great sacrifice and a test of the Shadowkin's true nature. The revelation was both a burden and a gift, for it offered a way forward but also demanded a price that Lyra was not certain she could pay. The knowledge weighed heavily upon her, but it also solidified her resolve to see her quest through to the end. As Lyra delved deeper into the mysteries of the Shadowkin, the secret society in Elyria made their move. They incited unrest among the people, spreading fear and lies about the Shadowkin's intentions. The unrest culminated in a siege, as factions within the kingdom turned against one another, each vying for control of the throne and the future of Elyria. Lyra, torn between her quest and the urgent need to protect her homeland, was faced with an impossible choice. She knew that the path to the Abyss of Shadows and the restoration of the Shadowkin's bond with Elyria was crucial, but she could not ignore the cries of her people and the chaos that threatened to tear Elyria apart. With a heavy heart, Lyra made the decision to return to Elyria, rallying her companions and the spirits of the haunted forest to her side. They would stand against the secret society and their manipulations, fighting not just for the Shadowkin, but for the soul of Elyria itself. As the unrest in Elyria reached a boiling point, Lyra and her companions returned to the kingdom under the cover of night. The city was a labyrinth of shadows, each one hiding secrets and whispers of the turmoil that had taken hold. The streets, once vibrant with life, were now tense with the echoes of dissent and the footsteps of the secret society's agents. Lyra knew that to restore peace, she had to confront the source of the unrest. She had to reveal the truth about the Shadowkin and expose the manipulations of the secret society. But to do that, she had to embrace her own shadow, to wield the power of the Shadowkin without losing herself to it. In the heart of the city, beneath the ancient library, there existed a chamber known as the Council of Shadows. It was here that the most powerful and enigmatic figures of Elyria gathered to discuss matters of grave importance. Lyra, with Selim's guidance and Torvin's support, sought an audience with the council to plead her case. The council was a diverse assembly, with representatives from the various factions of Elyria, each with their own agenda. Lyra's words had to strike a chord that resonated beyond their personal interests, appealing to the shared history and the collective destiny of their people. As Lyra spoke before the council, she unveiled the truths she had discovered, the ancient bond between the Shadowkin and Elyria, the secret society's role in sundering that bond, and the prophecy that tied her own fate to the Shadowkins. The revelation was met with shock, disbelief, and, in some quarters, a spark of hope. The council chamber erupted into debate, each member arguing their perspective with fervor. Lyra's allies stood firm beside her, their voices adding weight to her claims. As the arguments raged, the council was forced to confront the reality of the Shadowkin's existence and the potential consequences of their actions. The debate in the Council of Shadows reached a critical juncture when an ancient artifact was brought forth, a relic that could either validate or discredit Lyra's claims. The artifact, a shadow orb, was said to reveal the true nature of the Shadowkin and their connection to Elyria when activated by one of their bloodline. Lyra, with a steady hand and a heart full of courage, activated the orb. As its dark light filled the chamber, the council witnessed visions of the past, of the harmony between humans and Shadowkin, and the atrocities committed by the secret society. The truth was laid bare for all to see. With the truth revealed, the council was divided. Some members, moved by the vision and Lyra's plea, pledged their support to mend the bond between humans and Shadowkin. Others, entrenched in their beliefs and fearing the loss of power, turned away, their allegiance to the secret society unbroken. Lyra, now more than ever, understood the weight of her role. She had to make a choice that would define not just her own path but the future of Elyria. Embracing the power of the Shadowkin, she decided to walk the line between light and darkness, to become the bridge that could unite a divided kingdom. With the truth about the Shadowkin and the secret society's manipulations laid bare, Elyria found itself at a crossroads. The council's decision was a turning point, and the kingdom began to realign as factions chose sides. Lyra, now recognized as a key figure in the unfolding events, was both a symbol of hope and a target for those who sought to maintain the old order. The first light of dawn broke over Elyria, and with it came a renewed sense of purpose. Lyra knew that the path ahead was fraught with challenges, but she was determined to walk it, to lead her people toward a future where humans and Shadowkin could coexist in harmony. Lyra's vision of unity resonated with many, and she found herself at the helm of a growing alliance. This alliance was not just between humans and Shadowkin but also among the various factions within Elyria that sought change and healing. Together, they began to mend the rifts that had divided the kingdom for so long. In this chapter, we see Lyra forging alliances with unlikely allies, from the noble houses that had long been at odds to the reclusive groups that had shunned the kingdom's politics. Each alliance brought its own set of challenges and required Lyra to navigate a delicate balance of power and trust. To solidify the bond between humans and Shadowkin, Lyra sought to perform an ancient ritual of reconciliation, one that had been forgotten over the centuries. The ritual was to be held at the Abyss of Shadows, a place of great power where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was thinnest. In preparation for the ritual, Lyra and her companions gathered the necessary components, each with its own set of trials and quests. The gathering of these components was not just a physical journey but also a spiritual one, as each item represented an aspect of the bond that needed to be healed. As the day of the ritual approached, tensions ran high. The secret society, now exposed and weakened, sought to disrupt the ritual and maintain their influence. They launched a series of attacks on the Alliance, testing the unity and resolve of those who stood with Lyra. These attacks were not just physical but also psychological, aimed at sowing discord and doubt. Lyra and her allies had to stand firm, to trust in their shared vision and in the strength of their newfound unity. Each challenge they faced was a test of their commitment to the path of light. The ritual of reconciliation was a pivotal moment, not just for Lyra and the Shadowkin but for all of Elyria. As the ritual commenced, the forces of darkness and light converged at the Abyss of Shadows, creating a spectacle that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Lyra, as the vessel of the Shadowkin's power, led the ritual, her voice echoing through the abyss with the incantations of old. The ritual was a dance of energies, a delicate balance of light and shadow that, if disrupted, could have dire consequences. As the ritual reached its climax, a brilliant light emerged from the abyss, a symbol of the harmony that could exist between humans and Shadowkin. This light washed over Elyria, bringing with it a sense of peace and renewal. The light of harmony that emerged from the abyss of shadows brought a respite to Elyria, but it was not without its shadows. The secret society, though weakened, was not yet defeated. They regrouped in the darkest corners of the kingdom, plotting one final stand to reclaim their lost power. Lyra, now more aware than ever of the enemy's tenacity, knew that the true test of Elyria's unity was yet to come. She gathered her allies, both human and Shadowkin, to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. This preparation was not just strategic but also spiritual, as they sought to strengthen the bond that had been forged through the ritual of reconciliation. Rumors of the secret society's regrouping spread like wildfire through Elyria. The echoes of war grew louder, stirring the hearts of the people with a mix of determination and fear. The kingdom, once on the brink of division, now found itself united in the face of a common enemy. Lyra and her council of allies strategized, preparing defenses and rallying the people. The Shadowkin, who had long been feared and misunderstood, now stood beside their human brethren, their shared history and the recent revelations forging a bond of trust and camaraderie. The secret society, in their desperation, launched a bold and brutal attack on the abyss of shadows, seeking to corrupt its power and turn it against the kingdom. The abyss was more than just a place of power, it was the symbol of the new harmony between humans and Shadowkin, and its fall would be a devastating blow to the morale of Elyria. Lyra and her allies raced to the abyss, where a fierce battle unfolded. The skies above the abyss were filled with the roars of combat and the flashes of magic. The ground shook with the force of the struggle, as the future of Elyria hung in the balance. In the heat of the battle, it became clear that the secret society's power was greater than anticipated. They had tapped into ancient and forbidden sources, twisting the very energies of the abyss to their will. To counter this dark force, a great sacrifice was needed, one that only Lyra, with her unique connection to the Shadowkin, could make. Faced with this choice, Lyra hesitated, torn between her duty to Elyria and the love she held for her people. But in the end, she knew what must be done. With a heavy heart, she began the ritual of sacrifice, offering her own life force to purify the abyss and sever the secret society's power. As Lyra's sacrifice took effect, a brilliant light erupted from the abyss, cleansing it of the dark energies and restoring its original purity. The secret society's forces were swept away by the power of the light, their plans for domination crushed once and for all. The kingdom of Elyria, though battered and bruised, emerged from the battle with its spirit intact. The people, inspired by Lyra's sacrifice, vowed to honor her memory by continuing the work of unity and peace she had started. In the aftermath, Elyria began the long process of rebuilding, not just its structures, but its spirit. The Shadowkin were welcomed into society, their contributions valued and their presence celebrated. The kingdom entered a new era, one of cooperation and understanding, with the legacy of Lyra as its guiding light. As the final chapter of our tale unfolded, the legacy of Lyra and the Shadowkin was etched into the fabric of Elyria. The village of Grivna, once a beacon of hope amidst the darkness, had now become a symbol of unity and strength, a testament to the power of love and sacrifice. In the gentle embrace of twilight, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, the villagers of Elyria gathered to honor the memory of their fallen hero, Lyra. The air was filled with the soft murmurs of prayers and the melodic strains of a harp, echoing the sorrow and the gratitude in their hearts. Ivan and Elena, standing side by side, looked out over the horizon, their eyes reflecting the setting sun's golden hues. They had fought alongside Lyra, witnessed her transformation from a scholar seeking truth to a leader who would change the course of history. Their hearts were heavy with the loss, yet filled with pride for the legacy she had left behind. "Her light still shines upon us," Elena whispered, her voice a tender caress on the evening breeze. "In every Shadowkin who walks among us, in every heart that beats in harmony, we see her spirit." Ivan nodded, his gaze steady. "And it will continue to guide us, long after we are gone." Her sacrifice was not in vain. It was the spark that ignited the flame of unity. As the villagers lit lanterns in Lyra's memory, their soft glow illuminated the faces of the people, young and old, human and Shadowkin alike. They had learned to live in harmony, to value the differences that made them strong, and to cherish the bond that united them. The village of Grivna, once the stage for a desperate struggle, now thrived under the guidance of Ivan and Elena. They had taken up the mantle left by Lyra, dedicating their lives to nurturing the peace she had fought for, to educating the new generations about the dangers of division, and to building a future where hope was the cornerstone of their society. And as the seasons turned, the tales of their battles became legends, passed down from one generation to the next. The stories of Lyra, Ivan, and Elena were woven into the very history of Elyria, inspiring countless others to stand against darkness and to fight for a brighter tomorrow. In the end, the village of Grivna stood not just as a symbol of hope and strength but as a living, breathing testament to the power of unity and the indomitable human spirit. And as the sun set on the final days of Ivan and Elena, they knew that they had left a legacy that would endure through the ages, a beacon of hope for all who called Grivna home. The legacy of Lyra, Ivan, and Elena lived on, a shining example of what could be achieved through hope, courage, and unwavering determination. And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, each one seemed to tell a story of heroes who had faced unimaginable horrors and emerged victorious, their love and unity a testament to the power of the human spirit. In the end, the village of Grivna flourished, a shining example of what could be achieved through hope, courage, and unwavering determination. And the legacy of Lyra, Ivan, and Elena lived on, a beacon of hope and strength for all who called Grivna home.